Let me tell you about a story that happened once. I was in French class working on an assignment when one girl came up to the printer and tried to print a document.
This printer is so autistic!
She probably didn't know that I had autism. She probably didn't even know what autism was. But even though the comment wasn't directed at me, it still hurt my feelings. And this is happening all around the world. So, as you may or may not know, autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, is a range of conditions that can cause challenges with social skills, speech, nonverbal communication, and repetitive behaviors. The four main types of ASD are autistic disorder, which causes difficulty with social interaction, takes time to develop language, etc. Childhood disintegrative disorder, which makes it so that it takes 2 to 4 years to develop normal skills such as speech, and so on. Asperger's syndrome, which causes difficulty with social interaction, repetitive behaviors, etc. And PDD-NOS, which stands for Pervasive Developmental Disorder, not otherwise specified, and applies to those who show signs of, but don't entirely meet, the criteria for another form of ASD. In order to explain this topic more thoroughly, I decided to do an interview with a parent of a child with autism.
I have 2 children and one of them has autism. She has Asperger's. Well, being a parent is challenging all around, but raising a child with ASD is a little different because a lot of the rules and the advice you get about raising kids would be different for someone who has ASD. So you have to be a lot more creative and a lot more patient, but the rewards are greater. So raising a child with ASD has different challenges in that a lot of the advice you're given for raising neurotypical children may not work as well for kids on the spectrum. Kids on the spectrum, their brains are wired differently. As a result, they won't learn things in the same way necessarily as a kid who doesn't have ASD. That said, they also can think in ways that are pretty amazing and very different than a kid who doesn't have ASD. So for my older daughter, who is neurotypical, if she does something I don't like, I can mimic and show her a different type of behavior. She can usually learn from that and just pick it up that way. But for my child who has ASD, just showing her the way I want her to act is not necessarily going to be effective. I need to maybe explain it like as a story or at a specific straightforward example and why that example is important, and then perhaps that's the better way to approach it with her. ASD kids love rules, they love structure, they're very literal. And so what you say to them and when you answer their questions, if you can be very specific and precise, they're going to take you for your words as you say it. Whereas other kids may try to read into it or try to find a double meaning, ASD kids will be very, very straightforward. And in that way, that's easier to be clear. But you have to always be very clear when giving instructions. Well, like raising any kid, it's depends a lot on the kid. And in my case, it's been pretty amazing. It can be very exasperating at times because you can't figure out why your instructions are not being heeded for the 5th time. At the same time, sometimes my kid will come in with an amazing movie that she's made or some cool song, and I'm always amazed because it's like, how did you get that out of so little information? So it's pretty amazing. You just have to be very willing to be flexible and patient and have a good sense of humor. But I think raising an ASD kid brings about as many rewards as it does challenges. Well, raising children has changed me as a person for the better. At times it's been really exhausting and challenging. Other times it's been very rewarding and really, really amazing. Overall amazing. And having a child with ASD has forced me to be much more creative as a parent, as well as being a big advocate to make sure my child has the resources and opportunities that challenge her and allow her to fulfill her potential and soar. She's got some very special talents and strengths, and I want to make sure that she's able to really blossom and work on those. And oftentimes it means working closely and partnering with other teachers and staff at school, as well as people that lead activities as well as, in her case, people that work with coding and animation and Scrabble and all the amazing things that she does that I would never have thought to do. One word that's hard. I would say exceptional. Well, I've learned that it is not a weakness, it can be a strength. And that just because someone thinks differently doesn't mean anything's wrong with them. In fact, without people that can see things in different ways in the world, we would not have the amazing thinkers and the inventions and the innovations we have in the world. And that is something that to be fostered and to be applauded and to be encouraged to be able to think these thoughts and see things in different ways and draw pictures and design things that other people don't see. Those are things that we should really support and be kind about instead of making fun of people for being different because we don't understand. I think we learn a lot by being around people who are like ourselves, but even more from people who are different from ourselves. And I think having a child with ASD has really helped me to appreciate just how differently she sees the world, the same world that I live in, but how amazing it is and how full of potential. And I'm always impressed and amazed by things that she can do, even though she's much younger than me. And I can't wait to see her grow and see what she'll do as she grows older and has the opportunity to really exercise those gifts and talents and how she'll change the world.
So how can you help raise awareness about autism? Well, there are many organizations that already do this, which you could look at. The websites of some organizations that help with this are listed on the left over here. However, there are many more organizations, so if you want to look at more, then just look up Raising Awareness About Autism online. Another way you could raise awareness about autism would be to tell people about it and what it does, and maybe create a survey on it as well, which would get people to really start thinking about what they know. And last but not least, of course, you can create an informational video on autism. If you do make a video and or survey on autism and post it somewhere, make sure to comment down below on this video your link. It would be really helpful for people watching this video to go to those as well. But for now, here are my sources.